Now, here alone, on the way, I can find a little path that leads many others astray, but it's guiding us home. And I'm finding as I grow faith, there's joy at the core of it. And though I can't see the end, there it is, all I need in my hand. And it's space, and it's time, and it's feeling alright, and it's hopeful, and it's kind, and then asks you, how can I be? What can I be? What can I be? All right, everyone. Good morning. It's 12:27 for me, which is a good time. It's actually one of my favorite times to be awake. I can do stuff at 12:30 now, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, work all night, stay busy, get a couple hours of sleep, wake up, go to work at, 7 o'clock, 7:30, I'll be there. I'll do a little meditation before I go there. It's good. It's good. I find the more I give into spirit and love and giving into the work, that I'm filled with this energy, and it's abundant. It's very abundant. It's overflowing. You almost have to fast from it, because you start to realize how much there is to do. And so I wanted to make a video tonight because I realized, looking over stuff, and I kind of finally got to the end of chapter 5 of my translations, right? Going through this list of this family, and I've got the right here. I've got the English translations that they put from the Greek Hebrew Greek interlinear Bible. But it's a great resource. I mean, honestly, just for seeing the words, seeing the letters, Hebrew letters, and then seeing what they translated them as, And it kind of helps with pronunciation a little bit, even though they pronounce it based on modern Hebrew and not based on Paleo. So, what I realized sort of after God revealed this tree of life, once God revealed the Trifold tree of being, which is actually really what I'm calling it now, I was kind of just looking over it, and I'd finished all my translations up to this point, and I realized that the Trifold tree of being is actually the key that helps you truly understand what Genesis is talking about here. And so I actually kind of wanted to go over that in a little video and maybe kind of do that with you guys. And we'll just get an idea, because I'm kind of doing this myself too, mostly for the first time. And so there was some stuff that I started to notice, even just looking like from Genesis 1:1 of the translations, right? A little bit more space. All right. In the family, in the head of God, nourishing the work of the mark of the family in the head of the outer lower God. All right. So here it's literally starts with Aleph. That's the first letter you see in the Torah. It's Aleph. And that's to mark it as one. But if you really read it from Paleo Hebrew, it says the inner higher God in the family and the head of God, nourishing the work of the mark of the family and the head of the lower God. Now what it's saying is high God in the family right here, right? So here's high God and high God in the mark, because this is the mark right here. The mark of completion, the mark of connection, the mark of God, you see. And remember that the crown of the tree of truth is also the root of the entire tree of being, and the root of the trifold of the tree of life, you see, beginning the whole process again, going back down, right? And if any of this is unfamiliar to you, you will want to go watch my video that explains the trifold tree of life. It's on my page. So if you're seeing this, then you just go to my page. You'll want to see that before any kind of explanations of this are going to really make sense. It gives you a rundown of it, basically, and the theory behind it, and how it came to me, and how God revealed it to me, and the logical basis to it. I think that's the best part of these revelations, is God is guiding me in how to reveal it in a way that is very logical and laid out, and anybody can verify it. You know, that's the whole point of me putting the literal Hebrew word above each part that I translate, because I don't want there to be any mix up, and it actually helps me in my translations. And I think it'll help people too when they're learning this process of this trifold tree of life. I think this story is very key to it. I think that's what it's talking about. You see, there's things like this. There's God's mark, Aleph Ta, right? Which is right here, Aleph Ta. It's the same part. It's the same, root crown. So whenever we see God's mark, it's talking about this root crown, and it's talking about the work of the root crown. You see? It's not just a point where God is like, it's not pointing to something God's saying. It's a literal place. It's a place of consciousness. It's a spiritual place. It's God's realm, you see. It's the point of everything. It's the completion of the tree of life. Talking back to the rest of the tree of life, going back down through this, going back down. So anytime you see Aleph Ta, which is, they would translate as God marks, or sorry, they would translate it as, in English, they wouldn't translate it at all. for the most part, unless it had something else. Sometimes they'll translate it as like with or something like that. It's the strangest things, because they don't understand the language. And so they're trying to reconstruct a religion and a construction and a conception of something that they themselves don't understand. And so there's all these like weird little quirks that it's just like, oh, that's a quirk. Just don't worry about it. It's not really important. We can kind of gloss over it. You don't necessarily need to translate it when you're translating the English. It just means like pointing to this. So don't worry about it. Well, no, it's not. It's actually pointing literally to the crown, the root crown of the Trifold tree of life, which is God's eternal dwelling, the place where the family rests in eternity. You see? All right. So that's God in the family. God in the family. The family's the third eye going down, but it's also, as God is manifesting, it's manifesting God's. Because if you think there's descending God, right, which is concealing aspects of itself as it's going down, concealing itself down this tree of life. And then there's ascending God, and ascending God goes up the tree of good and evil, and then it'll go up the tree of truth. But there's also a larger tree, which is all of them together. And if you just go over the smaller parts, right, like if you were to skip these middle ground pieces, you can theoretically say that is a fourth being manifesting. It's the reverse of the descending God and their tree of life. It's the entirety of the tree of knowledge, because the tree of knowledge, I guess you could call it the tree of wisdom. I mean, that's probably the best, because we got the tree of life coming down. We got the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the tree of truth right here, right, going up, and the entire thing together is the tree of wisdom. I mean, going up is the tree of wisdom. So I like that. That's something I'm going to add. That is something I'm going to add right there. All right, the tree of wisdom. So the family here in the tree of life's sacral chakra, which is the tree of wisdom's third eye. You see, the third eye sees the family and knows God, right? But it knows what it's planting too. It knows what the desire is. It knows what the desire of God is. That's just the family in the head of God, nourishing the work of the mark. Right? The family in the head right here of God nourishing the work of the mark, which is right here. They're nourishing the work of the mark. And here's the nourishing up here. Shin nourishing way up at the top, which is going back down, nourishing the entire tree. All right. So there's this family. There's God's family in the tree of wisdom's third eye. All right. The tree of life's solar plexus. Sorry, the tree of life's sacral. And and that family is nourishing. They're going up and they're nourishing, and then they're nourishing the entire tree because it goes whoosh, right down, right into this root. But this is also the crown, remember, because this is the crown of the tree of life. And all within this is talking about that. And then the family, the work of the mark, nourishing the work of the mark of the family in the head of the lower outer God, right? So there's the lower God. The lower God is the God that's descending, because God has to take this piece of itself and like enclose itself in darkness so it can descend, so that it can like manifest these beings in its mind that it knows only theoretically, really, because it can't bring them forth to itself, because when it tries to, they just deteriorate because they're so low energy. And so in order to know them and then guide them upwards, right? Remember we were saying that God descends. So there's this piece of God's descending, and that's the piece, that's the God in the lower, that's the lower God. And there's a family in the head of the lower God that's doing this work too. Because they're doing the work of guiding this lower God while they manifest this being that's lost. Because here what it says is, inner God who guides the revelations of the work in the lower water. The lower water is down here. In the second heart, which is the heart chakra of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's guiding this work, the work of the family, which is love and connection and guiding people to God, and then bringing people to eternity so we can all be together in eternity and then do the work together. This is the lower water, right? And so then God, high God here, high God's mark then revealed the nourishing water, because the water goes from the family downwards, revealed the nourishing water in the work of the lower waters, right here in the heart. So they revealed the work, the nourishing water of this work. That's what they translate as heaven. Literally, the heavens. That's what they translate as the heavens. And then they say and God's mark, right? So here they call it and because there was this little, because there was a wall. And so because when they see a wall, they're like, oh, well, that says and God did this. So we're going to just say and. We'll just cut the God part out. Because, it's just this. I think beings were just unable to understand. I think this stuff gets revealed over time because people have to kind of come to this knowledge over time and evolve in it. And I think it's just like how God's light is too powerful right up front. And so God has to conceal that light. And in the same way, like a being who is utterly lost in their own selfishness and their own desires can't even know the truth of what God is doing here because it will completely reject God. Like fight against it with all its might. Because it's like, fuck you, who are you to tell me who I am or what I am or what's good for me? I like to go and fuck everybody and do everything. I like to go fucking rob people and stab people and kill people. Who are you to tell me what's right? Huh? Who are you, God? And God's like, it's good, dude. It's all good, dude. I'll come back later. It's all good. My bad. And then he's, okay, I'm just going to... He's like, what's up? This guy's like, who are you? He's like, oh, I don't know, man. What's up? I'm like, dude, I think we're best friends, bro. Yeah, I think we're best friends. And then you're like, I think I'm going to go do that thing I like to do. I'm going to go rob those people. And God's like, as your best friend. And, he's just like regular. It's part of your life. Something that's a part of your life. It's like, you probably shouldn't do that. I really love you. I don't think you should do that. Not a good idea. That's God. Hidden. Trying to guide you away from your lowest desires, right? So here's God. God in the head of the lowest desire. Because God marks the revelation of God in the head of the lower desire. Yeah. Right? So God is, and that's what they call earth. That's what they translate as earth. That's what earth is. It's God lost in their lower desires. And God is going to manifest that space to allow people to manifest their desires and guide them over time towards God. I mean, it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful thing. Um, okay. Connecting the revelation to God in the head of the lower the lower desire, revealed the work of the mark of the revelation. A mark revealing the work to the family in the revelation of the connection. Doing the work of dividing from nourishing the lower gift. All right. That's a lot, sure. But what it's saying really is that connecting the revelation to God in the head of the lower desire, this God that's lost in the lower desire, connecting the revelation that God is guiding and that God is bringing them up through faith, right? Because we were talking about how there's these dual colors that you can't tell much of the difference between. It can be very difficult for you. And so you need to have faith to guide you initially in choosing the right path. Because you can't choose the right path on your own. Because the two paths are too similar. Your own desires, you can't tell the difference between your desires and your higher desires, or really God's desire, you see? You can't tell the difference. And it's funny because you literally see people, asking God to fruit their desires. It's the joke of the guy who's breaking into the house. He's getting his gloves on and he's putting his mask on and he's like, oh God, please, oh Lord, please help me not get caught tonight. Please help me be successful in stealing from this house, Lord. Please. I just need you to help me do this one thing, please, Lord. And you don't think you're doing that really because you think that your desires are higher than that. You see, but your desires are not higher than that. Your desires are taking God's spark of infinity. And I'm not speaking from a place of highness because I give into my desires all the time. But your desires are taking a spark of infinity, and it's taking a spark of God and then feeding your own selfishness with it. And so you really are breaking into the house of God to steal something, to steal this thing that you desire, this thing that you want. And God is already telling you, I do everything already, so I don't know what you're asking for. And what you're asking for is so selfish and so small, and you don't even understand where that would lead you or what that's going to lead you to. And you don't even understand where I'm trying to lead you because you're so blind you can't even see you can't even tell the difference between two vaguely similar colors. Oh, please, Lord. Oh, please, Lord, let me get that car today. Oh, please, Lord, I just bought this lottery ticket. It would be so... I feel like this could be the thing that would change my life and it would bring everything together. If you could just make me win this lottery, God, I'll use the money to make my life better. And then I'll fix everything. I'll send my kids to college. I'll go get a house for me. I'll buy a house for my family. Da, 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 da. And God's that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to give you that money and you're going to go buy all the shit that you wanted to buy. And then in 5 months, you're going to be fucking broke. Or dead, because statistically, a lot of people that win the lottery end up committing suicide or dead, literally murdered. There's a lot of people murdered, and quite often by their family members, because they won the lottery. Right? And so our desires are so short-sighted, and they're always feeding into this very low level of I want to fulfill my immediate desires right now, what I want to do right now. What do I want to do right now? I want to hit this bong right now. I'm going to do that. Do it. Don't worry, this is legal hemp cannabis. Hemp cannabis. Currently as of right now, legal in Tennessee. Maybe not in the future. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Oh, I feel my desire. Wow, that's cool. That didn't fix much. That's going to last for a little bit, and then I'm going to have to hit it again to give the same experience of anything that I'm going for, right? So God is inviting us into something deeper, something much deeper, which is a giving up of the chasing of self. That's what heaven is. See, revealed the nourishing water and the work of the lower waters. That's heaven. Nourishing the water and the work of the lower waters. The nourishing water and the work of the lower waters. What's that work? Well, it's taking this water, dividing it, taking the selfish aspect, sending it down, not manifesting that. What you do manifest is, boom, the high water of God going into the sacred cosmic heart root, the royal heart root, the root of the tree of truth, right? And that, I don't know what happened. That is heaven. Because it guides you to heaven, you see it? Guides you to eternity. because the nourishing water and the work of the lower waters, right? Dividing this water and sending it up to God, sending it up to love, sending it up to the family, sending it back up to heaven, to everybody, to the family, nourishing the tree of being is heaven. Why? Well, what happens when you're constantly focused on yourself? I can tell you, because I see it. I used to live it. That's heavily what depression manifests from. It's a self-focus, and in fact, what I guess you could call it the sickness that is the mind sickness that is the abuser, and that ends up being people who abuse substances, and then people who abuse people and hurt people and use people. That stems from an entire focus on self-focus, self-centeredness, to the point where you can be in a house. A person can be in a house with their children, and their spouse is literally running ragged, trying to run the house and pay all the bills from the job they're running, and you are laying in your bed late at night doing drugs and complaining about your spouse, trying to make up stories about how they're the reason that your life sucks, or the reason you feel this thing or that thing. And people end up blaming like all kinds of stuff in their lives to justify these feelings of emptiness that they have, right? And then it leads to self-abusive behavior and other abusive behavior, which is actually just the self. It's all us, because we're here to guide each other. And so when we lack the ability to see this truth, when we are so self-focused and self-centered that we can only take the energy that God gives us, the light that God gives us, and send it back down into our own desires, we can become a literal monster. I mean, it's terrifying what you can become. It's a demon that you can become. You know, you can become this pit that sucks all the light out of your life and out of your family and destroys everything that you touch, because you can't just see the fact that all of your focus being on yourself is the cause of your problems. And it's when we start to send this water up and we start to water other people's seeds, we start to water love and connection with each other. We start to water time with each other, right? We start to water actual one-on-one time. Putting your phone down, not putting a screen on, not watching a movie, speaking to the people that you love. Maybe if you're going to do anything, play a board game at least, because you always end up talking and you always end up looking at each other. And that's what is most important. It's that contact and that connection, being there with each other, building this love, because that's what we're doing. We're building the love and connection. And we have to be willing to send this love up, right? And that's not to say we can't have our own little desires, because we're not perfect, and it's not going to be all of us in this lifetime. But the simple act of dividing the water and sending the water up is not something that is only for certain people in certain lives. It's the start of the work, and it's where we can all be right now. We start that work just simply by taking those small steps in our lives. You know, where you want to be self-focused, where you want to complain about something, where you want to make your little self-concern known to everybody, and you actually could not. You have this like whole option to just not do it. And there's processes to that too, you know. Prayer is a huge process that's long lost in the current Judeo-Christian spirituality. It's heavily coming back in the Jewish sect, I guess the Jewish offshoot, right? Because really Judaism and Christianity are two offshoots of the same religion. And that religion died when the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed. And in the Jewish offshoot of the tree, they're coming back to this understanding of prayer. In the Christian offshoot, I think, I mean, it is coming back to a certain degree. And that's what a lot of people are starting to realize, is that there's this emptiness that's been there. What it is it's this prayer. It's this meditative prayer. It is taking the time to self-reflect on your life and on your actions and your decisions, a willingness to be humble about those choices and those actions and those decisions. And then from there, also dropping into your own heart, dropping into the space in your heart, making a space, making a time to make space. And if you're not going to do breathing focus or something, even a prayer, praying to God in your head and bringing your attention to that. Or finding scripture that really speaks to you and speaks to your higher self, and learn that scripture. And if you need to, you can hold it in front of you. Sometimes I hold something in front of me on my phone and I read it in my head over and over again, focusing on it. And when I lose concentration or I find myself thinking about other stuff, I note that and I bring my concentration back to that prayer or that mantra or that scripture that I'm trying to focus on. And these sorts of practices begin to build a groundwork for connecting to your heart and being able to send that lower energy up to your heart to water your higher energies. And that's the first step, really, is that willingness to send some of that energy up. And when you begin to send some of that energy up, it becomes easier and easier. You see, and your focus does become less and less on yourself. And so this little stream over here, this becomes smaller and smaller. This stream that's going back down becomes smaller and smaller because your focus is alchemizing that energy. And it's turning it back from your lower selfish animal desire up to your higher spiritual godly desire. And so that's the first key. That's why I would say dividing is the biggest part. What was the biggest part of the story of Moses? It's the dividing of the water, right? And he leads his people out of Egypt through the water. And Pharaoh's men, they drown in this water because it crashes down on them because they can't divide it. They can't divide the water because they are so self-centered and so selfish that all of that water that's built up and built up and built up, God divided for the people of Jerusalem, that when the people of Egypt, Pharaoh's men, tried to cross it, that water just crashed down on them and crushed them, crushed their self, sent them crashing down this tree. But the people of Israel that had faith and could see what needed to be divided, could see the water that needed to be divided to nourish the higher seed, could see what needed to be nourished, were able to cross that water. Right? And those people nourishing that seed gets them support from God, the crown of support. Connecting the revelation to God in the head of the outer lower desire revealed the work of the mark of the revelation. A mark revealing the work to the family in the revelation of the connection. And doing the work of dividing from nourishing the outer lower gift. You see? You do the work of dividing from nourishing this selfishness down here, this selfish lower gift down here in Lam, in the lower root, the lower gift. Knowing guided the words of the outer lower seed, the mark of the revelation connected to the outer lower water, connecting the head of connection to division. Right? Doing the work of dividing from nourishing the outer lower gift, and knowing guided the word to the outer lower seed. The outer lower seed. Right? And the word, up here, you see that? The word up here. It guides the word down to the outer, to the lower seed right here. Sorry, the lower seed right here. Noon. And the mark of the revelation connected to the outer lower water, connected the head of connection to division. This should be connecting, right? Let's just say that should be connecting. Some of the stuff I gotta still fix with Ah, my goodness. I still got to fix it because it was early work that has to be redone. The outer lower water. The revelation connecting the outer lower water connected the head of connection to division. The inner higher God guiding the revelation and the works of the outer lower water. And from out of the inner higher water and the head of division speaking the mark. A knowing which guides. Inner higher speaking to the seed of the work. The seed of the work, right? The work right here. The seed of the work, right? It's guiding this higher speaking to the seed. And revealing in the water, working the lower waters. Or the revelation in the water, working the lower waters. I mean, it's amazing, right? It's like this whole process that it's talking about. Connects to the work of God's water in the head. Right? Now there's the water in the head. The inner higher God who guides the revelation, the works of the lower water. Works the lower water. Work to the revelation of the work of the inner higher God connected with the head. And connecting to the work, the revelation of the work of God connected with the head. Right? So connected to the work of God's water in the head. This higher God, this higher guiding God. So it's a higher God who's way down here too, though, because they're guiding. It's the God that's actually guiding. Is guiding this work. It's guiding this work of the revelation. Work to the revelation of the work of the higher God connected with the head, and connecting to the work, the revelation of the work of God connected with the head. Right? So it's connecting with this part of God, the revelation that God is doing this work. It's like there's these multiple levels of God, these multiple concealed levels of God, and because they're concealed, parts of the lower part of God, or aspects of God that are manifesting in the lower part of God, don't necessarily know what's happening in the higher part of God. And so you can have this sort of this hierarchy of beings who are sort of feeding into each other and giving each other bits and pieces of information that's revealing this revelation slowly and surely. And it has to reveal it slowly and surely, because if it's revealed quickly, too quickly, it would scare the beings away. You know, in much the same way that you seeing someone talking about God when you are an atheist makes you want to fucking laugh. And I know that because I used to be an atheist. I mean, hearing someone saying the stuff I'm saying would make me laugh out loud. I would think they're a fucking quack, you know, until I started looking into this stuff, because someone like me is being shown something that's very logical, and that's necessary for a person like me because I am so logical. So God had to reveal this to me in a way that was logical, and I had to come to understand it in a way that was very logical. That's why God could pull this through my consciousness. Because it was such a need for me. Anyway, let's keep going. Connecting to the work in the head of the lower God, the higher God who guides. This is Elohim, by the way, the higher God who guides the revelation of the work, the outer lower water. Right? That's Elohim. That's what Elohim means. Elohim. The inner higher God marked the God connected with the work in the head. Oh, higher inner God's mark of God doing the work, right? Because it's God's mark up here. And God's mark up here did the work of God. Why does that say mark? I might have messed that up. Like God connected. God. Like God. This should be connected as well. This should be well. My bad. Sorry about that. Inner higher God marked the God connected with the work in the head. So inner higher God's mark is doing this work, connecting with the work in the head, right? To give the work of the container connected to the family. The container's down here. Oh, where's the container? Container right here. Container connects to the family. The container is always so connected to consciousness, right? Because the container here in existence, it is the container for consciousness. You see, that's what the container for us is. That's what our container is. It's what holds us. It's our consciousness. See, so it's also related to our bodies. Inner higher God marked God connected with the work in the head to give the work of the container connected to the family. Connecting the work of the family, opening a door, guiding the inner higher God who guides the revelation of the outer lower water, right? Connect to the work of the family, opening a door. So where's this family? It's a family opening right here, opening a door. Opening a door is also connected to throat, which is dividing. So they're opening a door, which is also going to lead to the ability to divide. Because those two are interconnected. The inner higher God who guides the revelation Elohim to the family doing the work of the outer lower seed. Revealed God connected with the head. Revealed God connected with the head, right? To the family doing the work of the lower seed. Connecting the family in the work of the lower seed to the revelation, separating from nourishing the outer lower gift, right? So it's connecting to this family in the lower seed, this revelation that they need to separate, chit, right? They need to separate, divide from nourishing this lower gift, because the gift is not for them to nourish. Now God will let you nourish it, and God holds you, and he's going to guide you while you do it, because you're going to chase your desires no matter what. And so God's going to guide you chasing your desires, and he's going to help you fulfill your desires until you're sick of fulfilling your desires. And once you're sick of that, God is going to guide you in how to separate from nourishing the lower waters down here, and to guide that water up here to the seed, the third eye being planted, the seed which is between the opening of connection. So it's opening connection. The seed is opening connection to the heart. And it roots in the heart right here. This royal heart root. I want to put a crown on it, and then I want to put a little root coming out the bottom. And I want to put a big old heart right there. Big green heart right there. I think that's what I'll do, dude. Big old green heart. Put a big old crown. That is the crown right there. I need to figure out how to put a crown down here. It might look a little too wonky, though. I mean, let's be honest. An upside down crown is not going to look right. The revelation separating from nourishing the outer lower gift. All right, so we're separating from nourishing our selfish lower desires. This is all just in the first couple of chapters. God is already teaching you so much about how to go, how to really make it, just laying it out thick. Really, really slathering it on there, By the way, anyone actually listening to this stuff, because I'm just putting this stuff out there, hoping anybody finds it. And I'm glad I have what subscribers and like what people who are actually watching this stuff I have. But thank you for being so patient. You are just wonderful. If you're with me up to this point, thank you. I know I can be. I don't know. I'm glad I'm medicated, because this would be impossible when I was not medicated. I will tell you that much. Finding the right ADHD medication that was not a stimulant, bloody well changed my life. And God obviously did that for me to lead in preparation to this work, because I needed that to be able to do this work. I could not be like translating an entire Bible and unlocking an entire like new chakra system, tree of life map key for it, and then unlocking a map key for like God's guidance of all language if I hadn't gotten my medication right. So people, if you are an unmedicated ADHD person, all right, and you've tried medications that are like stimulants that are garbage before, talk to your doctor, dude, and like give it a try. Maybe ask them about non-stimulant stuff, because you might find something. Like I found the name brand Strattera, but like it's atomoxetine, which is the off brand. That bloody well changed my life. And I tried it when I was a kid, and I didn't really do anything, but like coming to it now, it's like it really fucking hit the spot for me. And there's like a couple of other ones out there. Like it's not just atomoxetine. There's like a bunch of other non-stimulant ones now that are worth checking out. And just living with ADHD is, in my opinion, a fucking nightmare. Okay, so there's no need to put yourself through that. Depression, anxiety. I used to have winter depression every year. I mean, like literally, I would go into like 6 months of like just down and out, just struggling every day, and that just went away. My depression went away. My anxiety went away. So, again, thank you for letting me talk about that. I mean, you guys are great. I thank you for the space. And if my ranting about this is annoying you, you could just skip ahead. You can consider it my commercial, I guess, because I don't have commercials. And this is a commercial. Are you tired of always watering your own selfish lower desires? Does this always happen to you? You're going along and you're like, oh man, I'm going to get that thing. And life's like, here you go. And you're like, no, what is that thing? Well, boy, have I got the product for you. It's called love and connection and turning away from selfish desires. And for the easy price of absolutely nothing, you could do it too. All you got to do is start, asking God what you can do for the world. Right? And you don't know what that's going to be. My thing I'm doing right now is this work. When I'm done with this, I'll start doing something else. Finding other ways I can give back. I think this is the biggest thing I can do now. So I'm trying to use my extra time I have for this. But whatever way you can give back is whatever way you can give back. There ain't nothing small. I got to take a break now. I think that's great. I think that was a great time. I appreciate you all. But I wanted to make this video just to show that this tree of life begins to show this revelation and helps you understand this revelation. So if you've been watching my videos and you've been actually reading these, this draft, reading this book that I'm, and these translations that I'm making, and some of it is a little wonky, like, check this out. Start using this Trifold tree of life as your map and start trying to map out this stuff. It's worth the work and it's worth the effort. What else are we going to do? Watch fucking TikTok videos? Let's be honest. People waste their goddamn time on shit. And I'm sorry for getting so crass right at the end here, but why not decode the secrets of the universe with me instead of watching TikTok videos? It sounds like so much better. I try to get my kids to do it, I swear. I always throw it out there. Anytime my kids ask, say, I'm bored and I got nothing to do, I'm like, hey, do you want to help me do translations? You can imagine how well that goes over. But then my next answer to them is, you want to do chores? But it's all out of love. It's really all out of love. We got to try and set each other up for good, and trying to teach our kids to be less selfish is a good thing. Trying to get your kids to handle boredom and not just instantly turn to a TV is a good thing, I think, and doing that for yourself too. Anytime you're bored, like learning how to just sit and sit with it and just be quiet. You don't have to fucking have something on. Again, I apologize for getting so crass with my language. I'm trying not to cuss so much, actually. It's kind of coming out right now. It's the 2 o'clock. It's the 1:22 in me right now. Old habits start to die hard at that late time. But it's also sometimes it's really when some of the best work comes out. That's why I like to record late and I like to translate late. It's how I came up with the Trifold. Well, that's how I began the revelation with the Trifold tree of life. So to me, it's a time where I can connect to God very well and connect to spirit. So I like to use that time. But obviously that time gets wonky. Stuff starts to get wonky. All right. I love you all very much. And thank you very much for being patient with me. All right. Peace out, y'all. And God bless you. And remember to love yourself and be patient with yourself and be okay with the mistakes you make. And remember that God is with you and God is guiding you. And at the end of the day, we're all going to be together in the eternal. Don't let that be forgotten. All right. Much love.